The first snow of the season hit me differently this year. Usually I've paid enough attention to the weather to know it's coming. I may even take the opportunity to stock up on hot chocolate, tea, or candles. I might check on all my winter gear to make sure I'm prepared to get outside and still have a good time. The first snow can be a moment to settle in and get cozy, or a time to prepare to get outside so you don't get cabin fever. But this year was different. First of all, I was caught off guard by this year's first snow, even though I shouldn't have been. It was November already, but it barely felt like we had a summer. That's when I realized I have basically felt snowed in since March. Sure, I've made trips out since then to try to make sure I don't get cabin fever. The hiking is great around here and I've really enjoyed that. But the coronavirus pandemic has felt like a long, harsh winter. It's getting even more harsh, and now we must confront real winter as well. As someone who grew up in the southeastern United States, I didn't experience a real winter until a few years ago. I found out that there's a few ways you can approach winter. You could pretend nothing has changed. But if you do that, you'll either find out that it just is not going to work, or that you were never really taking advantage of the good summer weather in the first place. You could stop everything that you're doing and wait for fair weather, but then you'll probably hate the winter. Or you could take advantage of the unique opportunities of winter while preparing for spring. Unfortunately, as far as the coronavirus pandemic is concerned, I think most of us have probably chosen either to pretend nothing has changed or just stop everything we're doing. And we're discovering that this just isn't working, or we've gotten so tired of waiting, we barely know what to do with ourselves anymore. Plus, coronavirus isn't like winter in some pretty significant ways. Winter doesn't get worse if we pretend nothing has changed, and it'll end after a few months regardless. So it's even more important that we choose the third way here. We've got to take advantage of the unique opportunities of this winter-like pandemic while preparing for spring. We've got to keep moving forward, but with full awareness of what we're currently moving through. Try to think of this like you're a farmer or a homesteader. Sure, you might make your living by growing food, but it'd be crazy to expect food to grow in the winter like it does in the summer. Still, winter can give time for important tasks you couldn't get to over the summer. You'll probably have to spend some time chopping wood to keep yourself warm, and maybe you'll finally have some time left over for some deferred home repairs. Plus, you'll have to plan the garden for next year, and as it gets closer to spring, you may even start some seeds indoors. In a similar way, I make my living as an innkeeper, but given this winter-like pandemic, I can't expect to grow any food or bring in a harvest at this point in time. Maybe your work has been disrupted by this winter too. So, what do you need to make sure you stay warm and cozy? Just like the homesteader needs to be relieved of some of their summer work in order to chop wood to stay warm, as innkeeper, I've found that managing this pandemic has meant that I need a little more time for self-care. What gear do you need to check to make sure you're able to get outside of your comfort zone? Making videos like this isn't something I normally do. It's a little outside of my comfort zone, but I'm just going to get cabin fever if I don't find some way of getting out. What have you been putting off that you might finally have the time to repair? I found a number of things around the inn that need fixed or were due for a deep clean. What do you need to do to prepare for spring? As for me, I hope these videos are a way of starting seeds in some of you that will eventually bring you for a visit to the inn at St. Gertrude's. We don't have well-established patterns for dealing with the winter-like pandemic the same way the farmer has well-established patterns for how to make the most of the winter weather. It's more like we're new homesteaders facing our first winter. We're underprepared and over our heads. So it's okay to have a little mercy on ourselves. It's okay if you don't know how to be an innkeeper without guests, or how to keep doing the things that you're used to doing now that we're facing a global pandemic. It's our first real winter, after all. But you can't pretend it doesn't exist. And if you just wait around for fair weather, you're going to be pretty miserable. And you won't even be ready for spring. So get cozy, get outside of your comfort zone, and get prepared for the world to be a little different when the snow melts and the sun warms up again.